Hello and welcome to Sebastian Plays This. I am Sebastian, and we are back with The Sims 3, but this time we're doing something a little bit different. We are going to be moving our family into a new town. It's a brief tour of the town. This is, I believe it's... Storyland or something? I don't remember the name of the town, unfortunately, but it's an empty town. It is gigantic. Like, we've got all this farmland all over here. Got what looks to be an area where we could put a port. Got like just this small town area. Then once you spread out a little bit, follow this. River? Is this a river? No, this is a this is like a highway. You wind up getting into this more city district. But as you see, there's a lot of land. There's a lot of stuff to do. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But we're starting all the way over with Ripmixshire, which is, of course, Bebo and his kids. As you see, there's nothing in this town to start out with. Everything that we do is going to be, like, we're starting from scratch. There is nothing here. There will be no jobs at the beginning. Nothing will be opened unless somebody in the family can buy it. Whatever. First thing we're going to do, I think, is we're going to try to make them a house. So, you don't really get to see it, but I actually struggled with the floor plan quite a lot at the beginning. At first I kind of wanted to do this weird diagonal thing that didn't really work, but eventually I had to settle with the idea of just making a square interesting, which I'd love to say was easier than what you're about to see, but no, I do spend, like, this is sped up a lot, but I literally think I spent probably about 50 minutes on that one little corner room that you're seeing. Just trying to decide between either a couch, or a bench, or a window. What kind of window? Do I want wall hangings? It was just a big fiasco. I'm sorry that everybody has to watch that. But thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it. I hope you're enjoying the videos so far. Believe me, the build is not just this little room, as much as it looks like it. Now this is where I kind of started to figure out the main vibe I wanted to be for this room. I wound up making it be a lot more casual than I originally kind of thought of. And I put like these just wall hangings that really meant nothing. Also, weirdly, there's not really a great rug for a little corner like that in Sims 3. But I think we wound up making it work with what we had. Now, this part was kind of weird for me, because typically I try to do kitchens first, but I decided to do an entertainment center first. And we're working with limited funds, so I didn't know like how extravagant and how modern I wanted it to be originally. Which, as you'll see, I wound up just going full modern eventually. Because even though I like the idea of having it be this really comfy, kind of warm home, it just really ended up working better with Bebo and the whole family to have them have this really nice living room. Which that TV is, I think, like 20,000 simoleons, so I think we used a good portion of our budget on that, which maybe we shouldn't have, but, you know, it's a thing that happened. So, finding a centerpiece for that little coffee table there drove me insane. Like, there's not a lot of things I really enjoy about Sims 4, but I will give them credit. They know how to make clutter. It's just not the same kind of clutter in Sims 4, and I just felt, well, in Sims 2, I felt like it was really blank without something there. So, my solution wound up being, I'll admit, kind of stupid. We wound up putting sushi just on the coffee table. It's not real, you can't eat it, your sim can't eat it, but I know it would bother me, like, in most situations, because it's not realistic to have that there, because sushi goes bad pretty quick. Coming from somebody that has eaten, like, 2-day-old sushi and regretted it. So this part I'm actually pretty proud of. Instead of having a traditional, like, upstairs be completely blocked off from the bottom, I thought it'd be cool to have this little overhang area. It's kind of based off of this place I went to when I was in Niagara Falls one time. I stayed at. And I really liked it. They had this really cool study area just hanging above everybody else in the living room. It was really cool. We'll kind of see what I get up to with that. And in the back, originally I thought about having a porch, but then I decided it might be a little bit more fun and I would be able to extend things back a little bit more if I had that be like a nice sunroom, which we actually ended up making it into a little hobby room, like where Cleopatra and Pierre would paint. I think Bevo also might have done a painting in there too at one point. I honestly can't remember. So here is where I kind of started doing the dining room. I didn't really have much to go on for this one. Once again, I kind of drew on that one house I stayed in Niagara. It had its dining room right next to their little sunroom deck area. I thought it was really cool. So that's kind of where that came from. I've got to say, I have no idea how I planned all that out right there, that little layout. But that is the layout that we wound up pretty much going with. I don't think we changed much about it. It wound up looking really good, man, I thought. So when it came to the kitchen, I had a lot of different custom content. A lot of it I really wanted to use. This fridge especially I thought was really cool because it's actually, I think, 2 or 3 blocks, which is kind of unique, but it did work. So we wound up going with kind of a wood and brick look in the room. I struggled for a very long time trying to make a little island counter in this small room, it wound up not working. It just never looked right. So we wound up just going with a pretty boring kitchen in my opinion. Usually I like to make them a bit more exciting, kind of have a really cool overhang looking into the dining room, but that wouldn't really work for this build. So I decided just to make it a big kitchen, like lots of counter space. And I almost put in a disgusting typical love sign. I do think this is the room that I'm still kind of not super satisfied about. We do have the Sims use it fairly regularly, like, it's very functional. I do like that it's functional. It's a lot more than several of my other builds, but I wish that there was more that we did with it. Bathrooms were pretty typical for the most part. We didn't really do anything too special with them. I kind of accepted that we're gonna go with this kind of modern look. Oh, this is a custom content bathtub that I really wanted to use, which I wound up being able to use in a future build that you'll see in a later episode, but unfortunately it just did not work because you have to enter from the side, and it's just super inconvenient. I tested it out way more than I really should have or needed to, especially because Cleopatra there's a vampire and I made her just stand outside for way too long. So, as you see, in both cases we wound up doing a pretty standard build for the bathrooms for the most part. I think they look fine, just they're not nearly as unique as I really wanted them to be in this particular build, but you know what, they're functional, they work, they look nice. I don't know what else really I could ask for. Also, I would like a moment just to really show some appreciation towards the Create a Style tool in Sims 3. Like, I have no idea why we got rid of that tool. It worked so well on getting just the right look for your rooms. So this was supposed to be Bebo's room, and I kind of figured he's a little bit older, he might want stuff that looks a little bit more comfortable in his old age. And also, I think it's about this time that I really accepted that this family is always going to have kind of a darker gothic aesthetic, despite how hard I try to repress my own. So we wound up just going with it, and I think it wound up looking pretty good for the most part. I do like that we kind of gave it a dark blue kind of vibe to the whole thing, like that dark navy. I feel like it really tied everything together really well, and it actually matched with the wood that we were using really, really nicely. Oh, here's where we actually started working on that little overhang, which I didn't quite know what I was going to do with it originally. I thought about making it into like maybe just a little hallway situation, making it into like a bedroom at one point, but in the end, I think we wound up going with the right thing. Oh, the roofs were a total pain, by the way, as you might be watching every now and then, seeing me mess with them. So this is where this starts to become my favorite part of the build. It's where we started to put these bookshelves back to back. And then where we put these chest tables on the railing, on the overhang, it just looks so good, especially when we have the very soft, warm lighting from the lamps that I wound up putting down. Which, by the way, you may see in future videos how those lamps aren't there. That's simply because it ended up blocking both chairs, so then you couldn't actually have a chess match against anybody, which is unfortunate because I really like the lamps there. Oh, this is just me lighting the place. It's not particularly my favorite way I've lit everything, but I do like that I kept with mostly a very warm, soft light. I feel like when I do my builds, I want my lighting to at least kind of match throughout the entire build. This was actually supposed to be a guest room, which it does become like a very small guest room style bedroom, but weirdly enough, one of our children ended up deciding that was the bedroom that he needed, and he just refused to get out of it. He actually spends most of his time in the series in that bedroom, it seems. This bedroom, I really do like how it wound up coming together. It was pretty simple, and I do like that it had its own private bathroom. Although, to be honest, because I actually play in this house, every sim is using that bathroom because it's the closest to me to reach, like, on screen. Yeah, we just had like a lot of different guest bedrooms because I figured this is supposed to be the family's main home, so we should have a lot of different bedrooms, just in case we have guests, just in case we have family, and what if we have a butler? It might be kind of cool to have them have their own room too. So, third floors are always kind of weird to me. I'm never quite sure what to do with them, especially when I have the kitchen on the very bottom floor. I just don't know how spread out I should have essentials. But what we wound up doing was pretty cool in the end, I like to think. This is just me kind of deciding on the whole color scheme of the whole house, which I feel like we landed on a really nice spot. It's kind of a nice, dark, neutral modern, but I feel like it's also somewhat homey and somewhat open. Oh, this is where I started getting the idea for how I wanted to do Cleopatra's room, because one of those bookshelves is actually a door. And I thought it'd be cool if she had her own little cage in there for like maybe one of her victims, because you know she's a vampire. We might as well make her feel like a vampire. I'm realizing now that torches became a big theme with Cleopatra in a later build, which I just think it's funny that I can see that kind of starting right here. So originally I thought about putting in a gym up here, but as you could see, I kind of abandoned that idea eventually, just because there was really no place to put a gym that made a lot of sense, because you wouldn't really want it right next to the bedroom. Because I figure if people were working out and Cleopatra was trying to sleep, it'd be too loud, which I know it's not really, Sims 3 isn't realistic in that aspect, you wouldn't be able to hear them in another room. But I still like to build my houses with a little bit of realism in mind. So figuring out the color scheme was one of the more fun things about this build that I really liked. We already kind of had an idea about the lighting already, so just putting down the right colors to get to match was really fun. I wound up going with a very dark red-brown brick because I felt like it really contrasted and really enhanced how the floor looked, and it really went with the lighting really well. This was my absolute favorite part of this build to figure out the wallpaper for, because I wanted something that looked a little bit worn and really warm. I think we found something that just worked really well with the lighting. Also, you're gonna see me kind of fuss around at various points with the lighting on the, away from the overhang of that little balcony, because unfortunately lighting doesn't move from one floor to another, so it always seemed kind of off unless I adjusted it. I will admit, windowing is not my strong suit, and you will definitely see why. But figuring out the color scheme for the outside was really difficult for me. I didn't want it to look too modern, and I definitely didn't want to do siding. I felt like siding would really make it look bad. But I wound up going with this darker kind of paneling. I feel like it kind of made everything come together really well. Then I did window placing in a little bit different of a way than I typically would before. I tried to line up all the windows somewhat, and it wound up making it look a lot better. And without further ado, here's the finished product. It really was a fun build to do, absolutely, and we've spent a lot of time in this house throughout the series. And just to finish up the video, I really appreciate everybody that followed, everybody that subscribed. Be sure to follow me on Twitch, Sebastian Plays This. I play every day on the weekday except for Wednesdays, and I usually start at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but I'm always on by at least 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I hope to see you as the channel hopefully grows, and maybe I'll see you on Twitch. Be sure to like and subscribe, and have a great day.